Hogewey is about people, in our case, people with severe diagnosis, severe dementia, but we see them as individuals. We created an environment as well, a built environment, as well as an organizational environment, which supports them, which focuses on their possibilities instead of their disabilities.
PflegeFaktisch, der Pflegepodcast. Powered by Medifox Dan.
In der heutigen Folge spreche ich mit der wunderbaren Jeanette Spiering, der Gründerin des Demenzdorfs Hogewey in den Niederlanden. Wir sprechen über die unterschiedlichen Ansätze bei der Betreuung von Menschen mit Demenz und sie nimmt uns zumindest hörenswerterweise mit in ihr Dorf und beschreibt die Lebensphilosophie und das Konzept hinter dem Demenzdorf. Und in dieser Folge bin ich total aufgeregt, denn es ist die erste Folge auf Englisch und wie ihr euch sicher vorstellen könnt, ist mein Englisch nicht unbedingt the yellow from the egg. Aber in diesem Sinne einfach weiter Podcast hören und ich freue mich auf dich. Hi, dear Jeanette, a very warm welcome to my podcast PflegeFaktisch and thank you for having time and talking with me about a very important topic this time. And yeah, it's about how to care and new care concepts for people with dementia. And as I told you at the beginning, I'm very excited because this is the first time we do a podcast in English. So maybe let's see how it goes. And yes, and I know you can understand and you speak some German, so maybe we can interact some English and German.
Oh, well, let's see, Francesca, and thank you very much for inviting me for your podcast. And well, for both of us, English is not our native language, so we are both excused, I think, when we have to search for words or, well, whatever. But, well, let's give it a go, and I think we can manage.
We can do. So, Jeanette, you're from the Netherlands and you're a senior advisor at the Be Advice and the founder of the vision Normal Life for People with Dementia. And you are the founder of the dementia village Hogewey. And I hope I pronounce it well, Hogewey. That's a little village. So for the first step to get to know you a bit more, may you can introduce yourself and why dementia is so an important topic for you and your working life.
Yeah. Well, when I started working in healthcare more than 40 years ago already, it was just by chance that I started working in a nursing home. Mm-hmm. Fresh from my studies, I by the way, I studied hospitality and business management, so I do not have a background in care. Mm-hmm. But by the way, now after 40 years, I know a lot about it, I can say, but I'm not a professional trained care worker or doctor or nurse or whatever. But I started working in a nursing home by chance, and I think that because it was so interesting, actually, that well, I never left. I stayed during all my career. I worked in healthcare, and actually with the same in the same nursing home, the old Hogewey. Later on, I moved on to other nursing homes as well. But so actually, you can say that I dedicated all my career, not by plan actually, but I dedicated all my career to creating quality of life for people, and in this case, quality of life for people living with severe dementia, because people who live in the nursing homes in the Netherlands are all diagnosed with severe dementia. And well, my career got along, in 1993, I was part of a team who came up with the care model, care vision on normalcy of life. And that evolved over the years. It was actually piloted and developed in a very traditional nursing home, the old nursing home Hogewey. And later on, in 2002, and at that time I was already director of the Hogewey, we were able to commission the build of what is nowadays the world's first dementia village, and it's the Hogewey. And so I was director of the Hogewey, but I was also responsible for all nursing home care that the Vivian Care Group, who is the owner of the Hogewey, all nursing homes of the Vivian Care Group, in total 900 beds. And so I tried to implement the vision, which and the care model, which was created in the Hogewey, also in these other nursing homes of our own company. So that is what I did, as well as being responsible as a manager, as a director in care with the Vivian Care Group. And but the attention for the Hogewey, once we opened it in 2009, was massive. And I have a strong belief that if you do something which has that much attention, you must also reply to that attention, because, well, if people think you're good, you have to share your knowledge and to see if other people also can use your inspiration and your knowledge. So in that relation, we created a business unit, which is called Be Advised. And we is I myself and with two other colleagues. And so in 2015, we became also professionally advised on it. And Be Advised is a business unit of the Vivian Care Group. So we are a not-for-profit care group, so also a not-for-profit advisory unit. And Be Advised answers to all the requests to visit the Hogewey, to learn about the vision, to learn about the built environment. And these visitors come from all over the world. And it can be care providers, it can be architects, policymakers, students. We are, every year again, we are amazed at how big the attention stays, because, well, this is an innovation of actually 20 years old. If we look at the design, and if we look at the care model, that's an innovation we started 30 years ago. But still, for a big part of the world, it's still an innovation. So there is it seems like a never-ending interest for what we created and how we operationalized it, and to the outcome that this different model of care and this different, well, environment creates for those who have to live here. So that is what Be Advised is.
So if you said somewhere over the world, or from all over the world, the people are asking help for you. So the idea of Be Advised is like a consulting and like Be Advisory to help people build up another village or the same vision for people to care, or care models for dementia. Now we mentioned a lot the Hogewey, the village. So you're the founder of this village, and can you tell us more about your vision? What's your decision to create it? You already said it, but what's the living concept for the people with dementia, and to build up this village? So can you tell us a bit more about the concept?
Well, it's actually very easy to understand because the whole concept began when we asked ourselves the question back in 1993: what would you like, or what would your life look like if you had to move into a nursing home? And actually, the answer isn't that complicated. You want to go on with your life. You want to keep, you want to be recognized as the person as you are. And you want to be supported by professionals in what you can't do anymore. So the Hogewey is about people, in our case, people with severe diagnosis, severe dementia, but we see them as individuals. We created an environment as well, a built environment, as well as an organizational environment, which supports them, which focuses on their possibilities instead of their disabilities. Mm-hmm. And we created within the existing regulation and law as much as autonomy and freedom as we were able to. So actually, the Hogewey is about continuing going on with your life, still being able to pursue your hobbies, making your own choices in what your day can look like, with whom you want to socialize, when you want to go out and enjoy the weather or not, what time you get up, what time you want to go to bed. So it's about your life. And that sounds very normal, very simple, because that's what we also want for ourselves. And that's what we try to create for ourselves every day. But traditional nursing home care, as I call it, and I think traditional is different than what we do in the Hogewey. So traditional nursing home care is different. Yeah. Because, and not to speak bad about it, but that's what we created together. But that is more about organizations and how you have to fit in these organizations once you have to move there, instead of an environment, an organization which really is looking at you as an individual and is really person-centered. I know a lot of nursing homes who have in their mission statements, we deliver person-centered care. And well, I think that's nice, very nice. But sometimes these organizations forget to write in their payoff, as long as you fit in our organization. And so there is a big difference between a person-centered, holistic care model like the Hogewey versus a traditional model of care, which is mostly medically focused. And we are more like a social model of care. Mm-hmm. So the big transition that we made in creating this vision and building this environment is that we changed from a medical care model into that social relational model or holistic model of care, and that delivers completely different outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds very simple. So the question is, at first, how many people do live in the Hogewey, and are there any requirements? Are there any types of and any forms of dementia who can live together? Because in the, let's call the medical or the traditional home care service, like we know here in Germany, is some home care institution can't cope with a very fortgeschrittene form, a very like advanced dementia, like the advanced types of dementia. So the question is first, I do it again. So the question is, how many people can live or do live in the Hogewey together, and which, or are there requirements, or can live all kind and types of dementia together? Because in Germany we have some special homes for the let's say the advanced types of dementia, and some of them, of the long-term houses, can't cope with it. So they, like you said, they doesn't fit in the houses. So it's very different. And I'm wondering if they all can live together.
Well, let me try to give you an idea of what the Hogewey is. It is, you can look at it as a kind of a neighborhood, a community within the city of Wees, near Amsterdam. In the Hogewey, you will find 27 houses, where in 26 of them, 7 people live together. They form a household, and we have one house for 6 residents. So in total, it is 188 residents who live in this community. And every house functions as a normal household, which means that all meals are cooked and prepared in these homes, that the laundry is done in these homes. Well, everything that you can imagine what you do at home.
Like normal households, yeah.
Normal house. And of course, our residents are supported by professional staff. Otherwise, they would not live in the Hogewey. But let's go back to the Hogewey first, and then who lives in the Hogewey exactly? So 27 houses, and we built it in 2 floors. So we have a ground floor and a first floor, and on every floor you have houses. They are not connected with stairs, so within the house you do not have a difference. All houses are without stairs in the houses. So houses on the second floor, houses on the ground. To be able to be a community, we also added some amenities. For example, we have our own theater, we have club rooms, which serve as a place where we host many of our different clubs. We have 35 clubs in the Hogewey where residents can become a member of. We have a cafe, we have a supermarket, and what is also good to realize is that the whole plot is 15,000 square meters, and half of it are houses, and the other half is gardens and streets and small parks, well, things like that. And if you walk through it, it just feels like a Dutch neighborhood. These 27 houses are built in a way, and also the amenities, that the walls of these houses, they form actually a natural, well, kind of barrier, because the Hogewey can only be entered by one entrance. And that entrance is guarded by a receptionist. Not because we want to keep people in, but because at the moment of the design, the law in the Netherlands was that people diagnosed with severe dementia were not allowed to go outside their home by themselves.
Oh, really? Okay.
Once they were moving into a nursing.
Yeah.
So we had to keep them locked in. Well, the only lock that there is in the Hogewey is that entrance, that main entrance. But for the rest, the front doors of the houses are during daytime open. So if you live in one of the houses, you can wander out whenever you want, and you can visit the restaurant, or you can just stroll through the neighborhood, or you will accompany a carer to the supermarket. So within Hogewey, there is complete freedom. No one is supervised. We do not have cameras. We do not use GPS. So people are really free and are not watched. And the next step, because the law has changed in the Netherlands 2 years ago, is to see how can we open that main entrance so that people can go outside the Hogewey as well. And we are working on that to see how we can do that. So in the Hogewey, if you, but in general, for nursing homes in the Netherlands, because the Hogewey is a nursing home, it doesn't look like a nursing home, it doesn't function like a nursing home, but we are a nursing home. And we have to apply to all the same regulations and rules and, well, whatever, which apply also for the other more than 2,000 nursing homes in the Netherlands. If you must move into a nursing home, then you will be assessed by a committee from our government, which diagnoses if you really are or if you really can have a diagnosis, or if you meet the criteria of advanced severe dementia. So we as an organization, we do not interfere in that. So it is the government which, well, gives you that diagnosis and that indication. And if you have that indication, you can put yourself on the waiting list of every nursing home in the Netherlands. So you have a free choice. There is no other place in the Netherlands for people who are diagnosed with severe dementia to go to. So this is really the last, we really support the last stage of dementia that people are in. So that means if you move into the Hogewey, you will also die there. It's really the last station. Most of our residents will be there for 2 to 2.5 years. And most of them will also pass in the Hogewey. So that is good to realize, because with that severity of the dementia of our residents, we also encounter certain issues which they come with the dementia, such as what we call in our professional language challenging behavior. People who are, well, we say they are aggressive, but that stems from something. It's not because they are aggressive by themselves, but there is something in their environment that causes aggression, or people that are really restless, or, well, all the symptoms that come with dementia, and most of our residents have Alzheimer's dementia, is what we also see and meet in the residents in the Hogewey. So we do not have another special ward or whatever. No, all diagnosed with severe dementia live in nursing homes, so they also live in the Hogewey. But what we see is that if you offer a different environment to people with severe dementia, that really influences their behavior. So that aggression I talked to you a few minutes ago is often caused by the fact that we lock people in. If you lock me in, I will become aggressive after some time as well. If I have to live with people who do not understand me, or who have a completely different view on life, or like different music, I might become aggressive as well. So the environment that we offer to people, and in traditional medicine, well, it sometimes more or less looks like a hospital, and we lock people in. That environment that evokes aggression, that evokes that what we call challenging behavior, and we try to medicate it, try to suppress that aggression, instead of looking at the environment, but also looking at our own behavior. as professionals. So by creating again that different environment and that different care model, that different approach, we see that we have less aggression. We see less aggression um, in the Hogewey. It still is there because it's also part of the illness. We must be very honest. But um, it's it shows in a different way, and it's not as frequent as we see it in tradition. Also, the fact that people have the opportunity just to go outside whenever they want and to socialize and to, well, it is nice weather. People, a lot of people enjoy being out and sitting on the terraces in front of the theater or our restaurant, having a beer or a glass of wine. And so that ability to do what you like to do keeps you also in a better mood. You feel more happy. You feel connected because you belong to a community. You choose to meet with the people you want to meet, and you are not just confined to be with that same group the whole day in that same room. That's nice. And the fact that you have so much space to be in also keeps you in a better physical. Because a lot of our residents walk through the Hogewey many times a day. And well, we call it exercising, but actually it's just walking and being there. But we know that being active, physically active, is good for you. It's good for us. It's also very good for elderly people. Also very good for people diagnosed with dementia. Sometimes I tend to say, well, they are just people.
Yeah.
They just are people. And because we do so many things because people are diagnosed with dementia, whereas if you just think about it, it's also what you and I want during the day. We also want to go outside, enjoy the sun, and if we have to sit in our offices all day, well, then we really want to get out and meet other people. It's the same, but it's about people. As I said earlier, the Hogewey is about people. It's about living. And so we do not make a difference in the Netherlands in the severity of the dementia. Once you are diagnosed with dementia, we know 2 care profiles, but they all live together in the nursing home. And the diagnosis is about your the loss of your cognition. It is about dementia, and not, as I know of systems in other countries, what kind of care that you need, or the amount of care that you need, the amount of support from nurses or whatever. Because with the dementia also comes the fact, and these are all elderly people, that they need care and they need support from a doctor and a physiotherapist. Not all, but some do. But that is not the focus of the system in the Netherlands. The focus is on how far you are in your dementia.
So I think you explained very clear and very understandable the concept of the village. And when I did the research about the villages and the Hogewey, I found some critical voices about the dementia village. So the voices say that the costs are very high. It's not a village, it's more like a ghetto. It's instead of inclusion, it's more, it assumes to exclusion, and it's like to hide the people or to lock the people. But I think you know that critical voices, and you are confronted with these voices. So the question is, are the criticism justified, or just do the people don't understand the person-centered concept, what's in your vision and mission about the villages?
Mm-hmm. Well, I understand criticism because it is a fact that because the Hogewey can only be entered through one entrance, which is guarded, and you can't leave by yourself. You might say, well, it's a segregation, a grouping of certain people together, which is true. I can't deny that. But if you know how people in that community have their autonomy and how they can live, that might change your opinion. So we see most of the criticism we get is from those who have never visited.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Which is very curious. So we always welcome them to come. And the question I always have is, okay, it's a grouping of people. And in that regard, we are the same as any other traditional nursing home. It's not that difficult to say that. But if I see what kind of autonomy and freedom that this paradigm shift that we created in thinking and creating environment, what that paradigm shift brings us, then it's completely different and you might be less critical about the segregation.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think that we as societies, well, we are the ones who created these situations.
Mm-hmm.
We created a system where we say, well, if you are handicapped or if you have the diagnosis of dementia or whatever, well, we have nice homes for you and we will put you there so you won't be a burden for society, because actually that's what it is, and we will keep you safe and we will really take good care of you. It's the system we created as society ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So my opinion is that if we want to change situations like this, and let's be honest, I've never met anyone who is who can't wait to enter a nursing home when they are old, because no one wants to live in a traditional nursing home actually. So if we want to change it, we as society must change as well,
Mm-hmm.
because we are the one who can change the system. So if we can be more inclusive, if we are really going to emancipate people living with dementia, with a disability or whatever, and treat them like equals, well, then maybe these environments like we created or the traditional nursing homes are not necessary anymore. But that means that in the case of dementia, society needs to educate itself about what is dementia. There is a huge stigma on dementia. So let's try to get rid of that stigma first. And let's learn how to support people with severe dementia and not fear them because we do not know how to.
Mm-hmm.
And let us create infrastructures in our towns and cities which are able to also support people who do not know in some moments how to cross the road or whatever. So as a society, we can solve this problem and this issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I recognize the criticism, and but then I think that the Hogewey is a very, very good step in between the traditional nursing home and the inclusive society that we have to become.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that also means that we have to accept that age and growing older um, cannot be seen apart from risks in life. The reason why we also created nursing homes is because it was for the frail and the elderly, and we have to keep them safe. Well, it's an illusion that life is without risk.
Yeah.
Also, when you grow old. So nursing homes are places where we try to keep people safe. So they won't trip, can't fall, they can't cut themselves on a knife or whatever. Let's keep them safe. But if you want to keep people safe, still is an illusion, you also take away a lot of freedom, a lot of autonomy,
Yeah.
and a lot of quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
If you lock people in and you take away the possibility to enjoy fresh air and to exercise, well, think about that from a human perspective.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't invite people to prepare meals together with the carers because you don't trust them with a knife, for example, you take away something that most of our residents, most of them are women, have done their whole life. They peeled the potatoes, they cleaned the vegetables. So if you take that all away, if you take important parts of normal life away to avoid risks, that's what we're talking about. You
Mm-hmm.
take away a lot of qualities.
Mm-hmm.
So we must also be prepared to have that discussion on risk versus reward.
I think the confrontation with some new care models is very important to understand and to do a very good inclusion with all the kind of people who have handicaps or have diagnosed dementia. So for me, it's interesting to how the care workers do their work and what the feedback, because it's not, it's not a traditional working in care homes or the professional working. So what the feedback about the care workers, and do they like it? It is the beginning, it's different. So what are the voices of them?
Yeah. Well, those who work in the Hogewey are the most important people from an organizational viewpoint, especially those who have daily, who realize the daily support for all these residents, and not only the carers who work in the houses and the home supporters, but also the people who work in the restaurants and in the supermarkets, and our club leaders. Well, it's different, of course, because if you work in a house as a carer and always together with a home supporter, you are responsible to run that household, and you are responsible to create an environment which is nice for those who live there and to support them in keeping their agendas, to make sure that they are on time, the hairdresser or the club or whatever. And that asks more from your professionalism than working in a traditional nursing home where you most of the time are responsible for just the ADL, so getting people out of bed, getting medication, things like that. And when we started with this care model, it was a big change for everyone, so also for the carers. And but what we saw is that their professionalism goes much further than just getting people out of bed and give them their medication. It's also in supporting people in their daily life, in understanding what their needs are, in supporting these needs, in really caring for them as a whole and not just for that small part, which also needs to be done. But ADL is just a part of the day and not what makes the day. So when we started with this a long time ago, we had a lot of people who really embraced this vision, which is why you have to explain very good to everyone who works in an environment like this. Why do we work like this? What is the purpose of what we are doing every day again? And a lot of people can embrace that. We had also people who said, well, I'm not trained for this. This is not what I like. Which is also imagine. Okay.
Yeah.
That's also okay. Yeah. But then you have to find another workplace.
Yeah.
Because this is what we do, and this is why we do it. And we want you to be part of that if you work here. Nowadays in the Netherlands, we see that small scale living, that home-like environment, it's much more common. So there is much more attention for that as well in the vocational training that people have before they come to work with us. And so it's more easy now, you could say, to interest people in working in carers to work in environments like this. But it must be something you can embrace as a carer. And of course, we train people on the job. We train actually everyone who works in the Hogewey because it's an integral model, so we have to work together. So everyone has basic knowledge of dementia. Next to, if you don't have any training in that regard, also our volunteers, by the way. And you are never alone in the way that you care. Only you, that you are the only one who care for people or support people. Care workers can rely on a lot of knowledge from other colleagues who also are present in the Hogewey. Physiotherapists, specialist elderly care, occupational therapists, dementia coaches, well, a lot of other professionals who can support you if you are in need of extra professional intervention, well, or things like that. So that's also good to realize.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that it's very different work, like we know or like I know, and I think it's very interesting to work in an interdisciplinary team with all the other professionals together. So for me, it sounds very interesting. And the another question is, what the feedback about the people who live there or the relatives? So how do they find their relatives and living in this new environment? And yeah, what about the feedback about the relatives?
We of course do these surveys on customer satisfaction, where not our residents, because they aren't able anymore, but we get the feedback from their relatives, can express how they perceive living, care, and well-being in the Hogewey. Well, overall, people are very, very positive. And of course, we get complaints because no organization, no one is perfect. But I think that our transparency helps in addressing complaints. And for example, family also has access to the electronic patient file, so they can monitor what's going on. And if something serious happens during the day, we will always inform them, call them. So most of I think that the customer satisfaction is high. No, I don't think I know the customer satisfaction is high. But we must also be aware that those who have never visited a traditional nursing home take the Hogewey for granted as it is, as well. This is how nursing homes are in the Netherlands. Well, um, so the best advocates are those who had relatives living in a traditional nursing home and moved them into the Hogewey.
Yeah, so that
And
they can compare.
Yeah, that's really they say, well, we've moved from hell to heaven,
Okay.
and that's not one time we heard that. We hear that many times.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that is the best how to express the satisfaction.
And at the beginning, you mentioned that there, with your consulting or with the company we advise, so many people all over the world want to know about the Hogewey and about the concept. So do you know, or do you have an overview how many Hogeweys or how many villages exist all over the world? I couldn't find the data, so I know one. It's you, and I know some kind of villages in Germany. But so do you have a data? So how many villages are existing all over the world?
Yes, actually we do, because we are very curious what comes out of all that attention for the Hogewey. And well, I looked it up, and we advise now in over than 50 countries around the world.
Oh, wow.
50. So that's quite a few. And we know, because we can't keep track on all the developments that are going on, but we identified around 12 to 13, well, lookalikes, or those who copied us. Whereas we always say, do not copy us, but learn from us, take away inspiration, knowledge, and expertise, and adapt it to your own culture, your own norms, to your own values, because that's what you have to do. But there are dementia villages in Australia, in New Zealand, in Rome, or in Italy, in Scandinavian countries, in Canada, in France, in Switzerland. So those are really the initiatives that not only are in the heads of people or in plans, but are actually operational. And then I identified more than over 30 initiatives which are underway or on the brink of a breaking ground for a new build. And I'm sure there are many, many more who did some kind of cherry picking. So they took part of our care model and implemented it, which is also good. We are not there to judge. We only want to inspire and to support. But we see a movement around the world of organizations, care providers, all kind of professionals who really want to change the traditional nursing home care, because that's not what you want for yourself as an individual. And that awareness that we have to look at people diagnosed with dementia as human beings. So in fact, it is a whole movement in the rehumanization of care for people living with dementia, and that movement is growing fast. And the biggest what I often think what keeps us back is the policies, the rules, the regulations, the systems that keeps us from that innovation and keeps us from moving forward. But well, that's this with every change. You have to deal with the existing situation and try to reach something different, making the best of what is now. Yeah.
we talked a lot about the concept, and I think we got a very, very good understanding. What's your vision and what's about the new care models and how to create a new environment for people with dementia. So for me, I learned a lot, and it's very interesting to talk to you. So every time at the end of the podcast, I have a topic. So I have some tips and tricks for the listeners, for all my listeners. So can you give some tricks and tips, like dementia in a nutshell? What would you recommend how to cope with people with dementia, or what's your best advice?
Well, I think I can divide it in different parts. And for organizations, if you want to do better, just come and visit the Hogewey and consult us. We are very happy to advise you and support you. But back to support for people living with dementia. Well, as there is not an approach, there is not a one-size approach for anything. There is also not a one-fits-all approach for people diagnosed with dementia, because everyone is unique, and also people with dementia are unique persons. So the best advice I can give is look at people as they are, and don't identify them as an illness, and don't label them like that, and try to make contact in a way that is possible for them and support them in a very individualized way. That is my best advice.
Yeah, I think that's the best advice we can have, and we can. It's not only for treating people with dementia. I think it's the advice for all people, for all interaction with people. So thank you very much for this statement, and thank you very much for the time talking with me here about the Hogewey. And yeah, it was a pleasure to know you and to talk with you about new concepts, new care models, and just communicate with individuals. I think this is my learning. Yeah.
Okay, well, Francesca, it was great. Thank you for the opportunity. And I hope that for our futures, there will be different nursing homes.
Yes, I hope too. So thank you very much, Jeanette.
Okay, bye-bye.
Den Blogbeitrag zu dieser Folge liest du wie gewohnt auf unserer Homepage unter www.medifoxdan.de. Bei Fragen oder Wünsche zum Podcast schreib mir doch einfach unter pflegefaktisch@medifoxdan.de oder folge mir auch einfach auf Instagram oder Facebook. Und wenn dir diese Folge gefallen hat, dann schenk mir einfach deine Sterne für eine gute Bewertung. In diesem Sinne, einfach weiter Podcast hören. Ich freue mich auf dich. Powered by Medifox Dan.